Lesson 2, Unit 2, Problem Analysis. The first step in the LFA is to have a good understanding of the problem or problems and its context. Problem analysis consists of analysis of the context in which a project will operate, which includes the social, economic, political, and other conditions. Analysis of the key stakeholders, which include beneficiaries and other key actors in the project, and situational analysis, or a detailed analysis of the problem as expressed by the beneficiaries. Problem analysis is the process to develop a good understanding of the problem. The goal is to identify the root cause of the problem, the factors that cause the problem, the people affected by the problem, and the long-term effects of the problem. The degree to which the problem is well understood will increase the level of quality of the project intervention. This is a point that cannot be stressed enough. Many problems with development projects are caused by a lack of understanding of the problem and the development of solutions that don't address the real problem. The goal in this step is to identify the real problem, also known as the focal problem from which the solution will be developed. Analysis of the context. Development projects do not exist in isolation. They are part of a wider context, and the project is influenced by different economic, social, political, environmental, and other factors. It is critical for the design team to fully understand these factors, as they can have a significant influence on the project. The project environment is fluid and is constantly changing. This analysis is done when the project is designed to take in consideration the factors that may limit or hinder the delivery of project results. There are two techniques that can help in the analysis of the context: the SWOT and the PESTEL analysis. A SWOT analysis is an analysis of the strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities facing the project. What are the strengths, capabilities, and advantages of the organization to manage this project? What are the weaknesses and vulnerabilities that can create risk to the project? Are there any external threats or obstacles that can limit the achievement of the project objectives? And what are the opportunities that exist that can take advantage of? These questions can help the organization understand the critical factors that can act against the project or factors that can work for the project. PESTEL analysis. The PESTEL, or political, economic, social, technology, environmental, and legal analysis, is another technique that can help identify the factors that can influence the project. In this analysis, the design team can ask the following questions. What is the political climate? Are elections coming soon? How is the economy, and how will it affect the sustainability of the project? What are the social conditions of the beneficiaries? Are there any technological challenges? How will the local environment conditions affect the project? And are there any regulations or laws that the project needs to be aware of? Answering these questions can help build a better understanding of the project context and the factors that can limit the success of the project. Stakeholders analysis. Stakeholders are the individuals, groups of people, institutions, or organizations that may have a significant interest in the success of a potential project. Stakeholders may be affected either positively or negatively by the proposed project. Stakeholders are not limited to the target group, but extended to those that can contribute to the achievement of the project results. This analysis helps understand their level of interest, their reservations, fears, influence, level of participation, their motivations, if they have any constraints, and their capacity, skills, their knowledge, and resources. Stakeholder analysis includes the following steps: identification of all stakeholders who have a significant interest in the project or who may be impacted by the project. Then identify the interest and motivation to participate, identifying their concerns on the project or constraints that might limit their involvement. Identify their influence and their capacity to collaborate in the project. And finally, define how the project might engage them or how they can participate during the life of the project. The results of this first analysis can be structured in a matrix that helps organize all this information and will guide some decisions regarding their involvement in the project. The matrix can have additional columns depending on the depth of analysis required by the project. What is important is to have a good idea of who are the stakeholders and how they may be impacted or how they can influence the project. This stakeholder analysis matrix can be used during the implementation of the project. This template shows the following columns. There is the column on the name of the stakeholder, whether it's a person or a group, a contact person in case there is a group or institution, the level of impact of the project or to the project, their level of interest in the project, and information on what is important for this stakeholder, what will be the contributions to the project, maybe it's resources, information of whether or not there is a resistance to the project, and the strategy to engage as a stakeholder. This document helps the classification and organization of key stakeholders, and some of them will be asked to participate in the analysis of the problem. Problem analysis. The main purpose of problem analysis is to identify the key problems of an existing situation and establish the cause and effect relationship between the identified problems. The end goal is to understand what is the main problem and what changes are required. It is important to identify the real problem and make sure that the root causes are clearly identified and that these are not confused with the symptoms of the problem. Misidentifying symptoms by root causes will lead to the development of less adequate and effective solutions to the problem. Problem analysis is a group effort and requires the participation of key stakeholders who will contribute with technical and local knowledge to build a good understanding of the problem and its root causes. One of the techniques used to facilitate this process is called the problem tree analysis. The problem tree analysis, also called situational analysis, originates from the analogy of the connectedness of all parts in a tree with the relationships of a problem, its causes and effects. In the diagram, the trunk of the tree represents the problem. The roots represent all the causes of the problem, and on the top, the branches represent the effects of the problem. This technique helps identify all the root causes that lead to the current problem and the consequences of the problem if it's not solved. This diagram provides a visual representation of a problem that helps understand the close relationships between cause and effect and is used to identify and develop the right solutions to the problem. The problem tree analysis is a participatory approach to discover the focal problem. It consists of 4 steps. The first one is the identification of the major existing problems. Then the agreement on a focal problem. Then the identification of the causes and effects of the focal problem. And finally, a review and a validation of the entire problem tree analysis. In the first step, the goal is to identify the problems and then select a focal problem. This can be achieved in a brainstorming session. In the session, participants will individually identify what they consider as the key problems of a prevailing situation. The brainstorming produces a fairly comprehensive list of problems in an unsorted order. With the help of a facilitator, the participants can organize, they can group, and they prioritize the various problems identified and then decide on a focal problem. The next step is to identify all the causes that lead to the focal problem. The approach is to ask, what caused the problem? And for each cause identified, ask again, what was the cause? This process continues for 2 and even 3 or 4 levels, depending on the complexity of the problem. The level of causes can be structured under immediate causes, secondary causes, and even tertiary causes. These are the root causes of the problem. They are the roots of the tree. The next step is to identify the effects or consequences of the problem. Using a similar approach, participants will identify all the effects of the focal problem. Participants are asked to identify the short-term consequences of the focal problem and then identify the long-term effects. This will provide with immediate and secondary consequences of the focal problem. These are the effects of the problem, or the branches of the tree. The effects are usually kept at two levels. There is usually not a need to go into higher levels. The final step in the problem tree analysis is to review the diagram and verify its validity and completeness by asking participants if there are other causes or effects that may have not been mentioned yet, and if so, then define and include them at an appropriate place in the diagram. Problem trees do more than just identify the root causes of the problem. They provide with a visual breakdown of the problem into their symptoms as well as their causes. And furthermore, it creates a visual output that can be understood by anyone. The quality of this analysis will be determined by the people involved, their skills, their knowledge, and their understanding of the context where the problem occurs. Finally, problem analysis is the most critical stage of results-based planning. It will be the foundation and the guide where all subsequent analysis and decisions are made.